What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you my workflow of taking an asset from Maya and getting it in the Unreal Engine. You can interchange some of the softwares I'm going to be using, but basically the workflow is going to stay the same. As long as you know how to use the software that you're going to be replacing it with, you should still be able to somewhat follow along. So the art style I'm going to be going for will be something like this. This is an asset I made. I've made a couple assets in this style. For example, if we go to something that's going to be a bit more closer, what I'm going to be making, this one. Yes, so I'm going to be making an asset in that art style. Now, if you don't want to do that art style, the other parts of the workflow will stay the same, like your modeling, getting it in the Unreal Engine. But the texturing process is going to be a bit different because I'm going to be doing it in an art style. So that's just sort of how it works. So let's get started. What I want to make is a blacksmith hammer. Now, it's going to be pretty simple. I don't want to go for anything complex because I'm just going to show you guys how to get it done. So this is the first reference image I get. And you almost always want to have reference images. Even if you've got a brilliant picture in your head of what you want, a reference image can go a long way. Even if it's just to understand what materials are going to look like, basic shapes of it, and even just little bits that you might have not thought up in your head. Now, the other one I'm going to be using is this one. So I want that top with this circle, with this bit here, but I still want it to look sort of basic like this. The texture, obviously, I'm not going to follow because I'm going to be making my own art style for that. Now, alright, so we want to start off with just putting a cube in. So, grab the cube, put it in the middle, just so I have it nice and aligned with the center. Make it the shape I'm looking for, pull it up, and start shaping it. Now, I think the first thing I'm going to want to do is select the edges, bevel them. Again, if you want to find bevel, you can go mesh, edit mesh, bevel, and you get this little option when you come up here. If you wanted to scale it like I did, you press the R key, and then you got like scale everything, scale Z, scale Y, and scale X. And then if you select the in-between ones, it'll basically do two at once. So if I select these ones, you won't get any of it going up as Z, but it'll go out in your X and Y equally. Now we want to make the basic shape. So it doesn't really change shape above the mid part, but where it's got the grip, it changes shape a little bit. So we're going to bring this in just a tad. So all I'm doing here is I'm clicking edge loop. I'm making sure I've got it on multiple edges and setting it to 1, and that will basically put it in the middle. That way, when I want to smooth something, I can just keep selecting the middle point like this, and then I can sort of have it smooth into it. Cool. That's pretty good, sort of basic, very basic stuff. Maybe I'll bring this part in just a tad more. And then if you want to make this even a little bit more detailed, you can go to bevel again. Again, to get to bevel and mesh bevel. And then you could basically make it so your bevel, you basically just make it have a bit more edges to come in. And using a bevel will make it completely easy. So that's pretty nice. Right at the bottom, I want it to come in a little bit. And then either I want it to come to a flat edge like that. Obviously, smooth the edges to do that. Select your edges that you want to have smoothed. Go to mesh display. Go to soften edges. That will make it soft. Here as well. So I either want it to go like that, where it sort of just gets back to being straight, or I want to flare it out. Either way, shouldn't look too bad. That is an end gone now, which you don't want, so I'll delete those, and you can fix those in a second. So I can just flare that out if I want to, or I could keep it flat. I think I'm going to keep it flat. I think I prefer that more. So select all your edges on here, take away two of the sides like that. Go to bridge, which is in edit mesh, bridge, and that will just bridge them across. Do the same thing to the top. Now, sometimes you want to have it smoothed first, because now if I go to bevel these, I may have issues because of how tight some of these some of the edges were. For example, keeping it, that's 1. Now that's quite tight still. So if I were to get rid of that first, I could manually make that bevel for myself. Now at the top, I don't really want to bevel anyway, because this part is going to go... I don't want it to be even filled in, should I say, because we want to save on poly count, because this part is just going to be the actual hammer itself. Now, I don't want any decorative things on the blacksmith hammer. Like, on everything else that the blacksmith has made, I want to have some decorative bits. But on his hammer itself, I don't want there to be anything. So I literally just want this to be a solid piece of metal, just on the top of a bit of wood. Nothing too special. That looks pretty good. Might want to make it a bit wider. Cool. At the bottom, like I said, you can get rid of that fill if you want, to allow yourself to select the edge, bring it down, and manually make sort of your own bevel for it. And then I can fill it in if I really want to. Now, it looks pretty good, but I think I'm going to make it a bit tighter of sort of a bevel, like that. Make sure you select the edges again and smooth them. Lux is telling me about my arm apparently. So you want to soften that, and then you want to fill. Or should I say, fill in Blender, I'm pretty sure it's called. In here, it's bridge. Just like that. So now you've got a flat little bottom. Because this is the side we're going to see. Whereas in here, where this gets attached, you're not going to see it. So you don't need to keep those faces. And saving on poly count is always just sort of really good for when you're making game assets. Whenever you can just save some polys, you might as well. Now I'm just going to select every edge. Go to my bevel tool. I have it on my custom shelf. I think I have a video to show you how to add stuff to your custom shelf. But again, if you don't know where the bevel is, you just go edit mesh, bevel, and you get this menu up. And we want these corners to be relatively tight. I don't want them to be too smooth. We'll probably go 1.5, not 1.5, sorry, 0.15. Just like that. Now, we want some extra geometry because when we have it in ZBrush, we want to be able to mess with it. So when I say extra geometry, I mean when we're going to basically subdivide it, we want it to be sort of equal squares. So, I want to add maybe about 3 here. And maybe 1 in the middle. 4. Now, I know I said about saving poly count, but we can remove these afterwards if we want to. But this would just make it much easier to deal with when in ZBrush. Save down here. I might want to add maybe an extra edge loop here and here. Yeah, that's about even, and that should allow for a bit more of an easier time. Going to make the handle a bit smaller. Bring that down. You down. Cool. Gonna make you a bit wider, taller. Yeah, again, it's only a basic hammer. Now, I'm going to grab an edge here, grab my back edge, press B to have soft select. What this does, set it really high just to show, is it will basically sort of affect vertices that are coming off it at a certain ratio. You can select these ratios here. So that's sort of a straight ratio where it's just getting stronger and stronger as it comes down. You have like a curve. Let's turn it to stripped down a bit to make it a bit more obvious. As you can see there. And whatever you want. I think I just want a straight one for this. Alright, so we just want to get to the point where this is a nice... Yeah, maybe about there. Now, I could have done this earlier, but I like sort of flattening it when I get the chance. I like sort of using this tool because I just think it's really nice. To get the perfect amount and start pulling it in just like that. Now we've got that little sort of back sharp bit. I can bring it down more if I want. Maybe... Actually, no, it does kind of go on straight like that. Not too bad. It's kind of what we want. I kind of want it a bit wider and put it back a tad. Yeah, just like that. Maybe, actually, just a little bit. Cool. Now at the top, I want a bit of a circle. Again, I'll go like this. Let's go to poly cylinder and attribute editor, and I want to add a few more just sort of edges to it. So we'll go 14. Bring it down. Go back to my grid. I don't care about scale right now. I just want to get it in the right place. For me, that's sort of the more important thing. Get it to your place first, and then start shaping it. Go. Want it to be. Actually, that might be about the right size. I don't want it to really come over here, so what I might do is I might pull this over, which means I've got to correct some of the shape here. So if I take off soft select, I'll pull this over. Let's try to sort of equal it out. I'll then pull this out to the point where it goes sort of flat like that. Cool, that's pretty nice. Now I don't need to change the shape there. And that seems to be good there. So now all I want to do is create a bevel on top of this. Maybe something like that. I kind of want it to be sharp edge, and then I'll add some detail in ZBrush. So that looks good. Again, I don't need this bottom bit because it intersects with the object, so we'll delete that. So the way I selected there, for those of you who don't know, is you can hold tab, and then you've got these red sort of bits appear. That's what you're selecting. If you hold it, it will select several. Boom. Delete. Go back to object mode. To go to edit mode, I know I've sort of got to a point where that might be irrelevant, but to get to edit mode, you hold right click on an asset you've clicked on, and then you can edit its UVs. I don't know where my center point is, so we can always go modify center pivot. Oh, not UV, sorry, vertex is what I want. And then you can select it, move it, faces, move it, edges, move it, or object mode where it just selects the whole thing. Bring that down, and we have our basic hammer. Nothing too special, but we will be adding detail when we're actually in ZBrush. So, select that. Now we don't need to create the UV map now. The reason we don't need to create the UV map now is because it's going to change slightly in ZBrush. When we change the shape, we're going to export it back into Maya because the shape's going to change probably just a little bit. And even if it changes a little bit, it may cause warping on the UV map if you do it first. Cool, so we're going to merge all that together, so mesh combine. And we have our basic hammer. Now, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to put it onto my desktop. And we're just going to call it Blacksmith Hammer. Now, I may make this more detailed later on. I don't think I need it to be because it's not going to be the focus of the scene, so I just want it to be very basic. We're also going to export it. Again, we'll just export it to my desktop. I probably should have made a folder. I like to keep things as neat as possible. We'll just call this meshes. We'll call this blacksmith hammer underscore LP to mean low poly. Cool. I want to do it as an OBJ because ZBrush, from what I'm aware, can't import FBXs unless there's an add-on or updated or whatever. But I'm not entirely sure. So I'll just export as an OBJ. Then I'll load up ZBrush. So I would recommend you guys having a tablet. I've done some stuff in ZBrush for a mouse. I don't do a lot of organic stuff, anything anyway, but basically when I do some wood or some metals or some stone, especially in the art style I will be showing, it's just really easy to get that across using a tablet. When I say a tablet, I mean a graphics tablet, like a little drawing pad.